Welcome in, everyone, to the Arc Media podcast. I am your host, Noah Dunlap. For anyone who is curious, today is the first time we are adding YouTube to the show. Previously, it's only been on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, any of the traditional streaming audio platforms. But we are adding YouTube to the show starting today. With that being said, let's go ahead and break down a few things. Yes, as you can see behind me, I have a Dazed and Confused poster on the wall. Dazed and Confused, my favorite movie, never changed from the first time I saw it. I was like, this is it. This is it. So we have Dazed and Confused on the wall behind me. I also have a poster that one of my best friends gave me a while back of Brian Fallon. He is my favorite musician. He's my favorite artist. And it is a picture of him that someone actually created using lyrics to his songs. It was incredible job. It's an incredible picture all the way around. So naturally, I have that behind me too. Also, yes, in case you hadn't noticed, are they a touch crooked? Yes, they are. I know this. No need to point it out. I'm just too lazy to fix it. It's not actually that big a deal. If we're discussing it being just a touch crooked, it's fine. No one really cares. Also, rocking the old school University of Hawaii shirt on the show today. Let's go Rainbows. Am I an Hawaii fan? A Hawaii fan? No, I'm not. But I do like the shirt. Actually got it. My brother got it for me one day just because it was an old school Hawaii shirt. Shout out to my brother. Love that guy, even though I give him hell all the time. Now, all of that being said, let's go ahead and dive into what we are talking about on the show today. For everyone who has listened to the show previously, y'all know how I do this. Typically speaking, Monday, Wednesdays, Fridays, we are talking sports and only sports. Tuesdays and Thursdays, we talk politics, we do culture, we do everything out there. I wasn't on yesterday. I had some stuff come up, had an opportunity to go to a concert yesterday, hang out with some friends that I haven't seen in a while. So did that. I wasn't on yesterday. And then I was planning on getting right back to a traditional schedule today. And then I woke up this morning, and as I'm doing my daily scroll through Twitter, news, websites, CNN, Fox News, all of the traditional places that I read each and every day to figure out, what's going on in the world, what we're talking about, I saw that the biggest news of the day was that Brittney Griner, the WNBA player who had been detained over in Russia for, I believe it's been 9.5 months, give or take, now that she's been in Russia due to her conviction of having cannabis oil as she was getting off of a plane, I believe it was. She actually got released today in a prisoner swap that Joe Biden and his administration managed to get done. Now, the important thing to keep in mind surrounding this prisoner swap is, number one, no one is upset that Brittney Griner got released. We all understand that here in America, at least, when you look at it, 9 months for a simple cannabis charge is insane. And I think everyone, by and large, over here would agree, hey, this is insane. But you see a lot of people talking about the Brittney Griner situation, and what they are trying to convince you of is that she was innocent. She wasn't innocent. She was guilty. We all know she was guilty. Now, is the law in Russia insane? For sure. But it doesn't change the fact that she did break a foreign law. And you can't discount that fact. So when we start off by discussing what it is that we're talking about with the Brittney Griner situation, that's number one, and that's first and foremost that you have to understand is she isn't innocent. It just so happens that she broke this law in a nation that is wildly corrupt, that its laws are just broken all the way around. So that's the first thing to keep in mind when we're talking about Brittney Griner here. Now, the other side, the bigger issue with Brittney Griner being released is the fact who she got released for. Brittney Griner got released for a Russian arms dealer named Victor Bout. Now, for those of you who do not know, Victor Bout, his nickname is the Merchant of Death. Lord of War, Merchant of Death, call him Dr. Death. It doesn't matter. Call the guy what you want to call him. He is an international arms dealer. He is a terrorist. He is responsible for potentially tens of thousands of deaths out there worldwide. He has funded some of the worst wars that we've seen on this planet in recent years. This guy is horrible. He is a terrorist. There is no possible way we should have ever made this deal. There's just no chance. So I know there are a lot of people out here right now who are trying to convince everyone and say, hey, we managed to get Brittney Griner back, and that's fine. We all agree Brittney Griner should be released. We understand this. However, it can't be for Victor Bout. That can't be a thing. I don't care what the situation is. This deal cannot get made. Now, the other thing to keep in mind here is one other thing that a lot of people have pointed out in their criticism of this deal is the fact that Paul Whelan, I believe is his name, he is a former U.S. Marine who is being held in captivity in Russia. He's been there for over 5 years now. There has been plenty of talk of trying to get Paul Whelan released as well. That didn't happen. Originally, when all of this came up with the Brittney Griner situation, because she's a WNBA player, and there are a lot of people who are going to try to sit here and tell you, no, that's not why. Of course it's why. That is the only reason Brittney Griner got released today, is because she is a big-time WNBA player. Let's don't get that part confused. But back to the Paul Whelan situation, the fact is that he is a former Marine. He's been held in captivity for over 5 years. He has to be first and foremost. There is no other way around it. If we can't get Paul Whelan in this deal cannot get made. Also, by the way, I don't care what the deal is. I don't think we should have released Bout at all. There is no deal out here that I would have looked at and said, let's release Victor Bout. Just no. I don't care if it were Griner and Paul Whelan. I don't care if it were just Paul Whelan. I don't care now that it's just Brittney Griner. There is no situation that this guy should have been released. That's one thing to keep in mind. Now, the other thing to keep in mind about this this trade that just happened, this prisoner swap that just happened, is when we discuss the fact that you see criticism all the time of the Biden administration, you hear all the time people say, oh, it's always America last, it's America last. It's situations like this that kind of prove that point. When we have a situation at hand and we are trying to negotiate a prisoner swap of a WNBA basketball player, by the way, a WNBA basketball player who doesn't really like this country. That's one thing to keep in mind. Brittney Griner has never been outspoken about her love for this country. If anything, she's been outspoken about the fact that she's not a huge fan of this country. So what just happened today is that the Biden administration negotiated a deal for a prisoner swap surrounding a WNBA player who doesn't really want to be here in the first place. That's That has to be pointed out because that is of major importance in terms of what we are talking about. So that's one thing to keep in mind. The other thing to keep in mind surrounding this whole situation is Paul Whelan is a Marine. If the Biden administration wanted to say, hey, we do care about America, it's always America first, Paul Whelan has to be first and foremost in terms of what it is that we are talking about in this prisoner swap. A service member always comes before an athlete. You heard me correctly there when I just said that. And for those of you curious, I absolutely love sports. Anyone who has listened to this show since I started doing the Lonely Roundtable almost 3 years ago, y'all know my primary focus is always sports. I love sports more than anything on this planet. But there is no competition. There is no way possible that we can look at it and say, well, a basketball player is more important than a service member. No, will never be a thing. The notion that this deal got done is atrocious. The notion that this deal got made is downright absurd. And for anyone criticizing the Biden administration for getting this deal done, props to you, because you should. There is no question. You absolutely should be criticizing this administration for getting this deal done. Not for getting Brittney Griner released. We talked about it months ago when this first came up. The fact that, hey, Brittney Griner should be released. But it has to come in terms of a reasonable deal, and this did not make the cut of being a reasonable deal. When you look at what we got here, this is no different. When you look at it, this is like trading LeBron James for a 4th round pick. By the way, an NFL 4th round pick. That's what this is. That's kind of what we're looking at right now. I mean, think about it. We have a Russian arms dealer, a terrorist, known as the Merchant of Death. In terms of what he is in his field, as fucked up as that field may be, he is basically LeBron James. He's Michael Jordan, he's LeBron James. Brittney Griner, grand scheme of things, is irrelevant. She just is. She is a random basketball player, a decent WNBA basketball player. This deal that just got made today, this prisoner swap, is virtually like saying, hey, we will give you LeBron James if you give us 1 second round pick. No one does that because it's insane. You see what I'm saying? So that's where the criticism of this deal comes. It's not that Brittney Griner got released. We are all happy that Brittney Griner got released. We are all ecstatic that she is finally free and she is coming home. However, the person that got released over here in order to make this deal happen should never be released. There is no question. And the fact that we weren't able to get Paul Whelan involved in this deal is also just disappointing. It's frustrating, and it absolutely causes concern moving forward. The other thing, there are some reports, these are unverified, we don't know for sure that this happened. There are some reports that the Kremlin over in Russia actually gave the Biden administration the choice. If this is true, this makes the Biden administration look even worse. And what I mean by that is there are reports, like I said, unverified, but they are important to at least bring up, saying that the Kremlin gave the United States the choice of Paul Whelan or Brittney Griner in exchange for Victor Bout. Now, as I said earlier in this video and in this episode, I wouldn't have made that deal at all. My answer would have been, if we're releasing this guy, we are getting both. And there is no question. That would have been my answer. The notion that they only give you one, if this is true, and that the Biden administration said, we're going to go with Brittney Griner, that is disgusting. That is disgusting. That is the very definition of America last, that is the very definition of simply disrespecting service members. That's one thing. The other thing, the Pentagon, this came out as soon as this prisoner swap got announced. The Pentagon is apparently concerned that Victor Bout may go back to being an arms dealer. You mean to tell me that a guy known as the Merchant of Death is getting out of prison and may go back to dealing arms once again because that is his nickname? There's no surprise here. And you know what? If any other Americans die, potentially by weapons that may have been supplied by Victor Bout, this falls directly on the Biden administration. There is no other way around it. So like I said, here's to hoping that Victor Bout finds a new field to go into, a new industry. But I got to be honest with you. When your nickname is the Merchant of Death, when your nickname is the Lord of War, I'm not real optimistic. I think he's found his calling. However, regardless of how fucked up that calling may be, I think he has found his calling. And that calling is to being a terrorist, and it is to being an arms dealer. That's where we are. That's where to Paul Whelan's family, I don't even know what to say. And I know there are a lot of people out here, they're running with reports that the family has come out and said they don't actually have a problem with the Biden administration getting this done. Even if they said that, fine. Guess what? Of course they have a problem with it. Anyone not wrapped in their own mind, anyone not trapped in the love of celebrity culture, sees just how screwed up this move is. The notion that as a nation, we said, well, we're going to take the basketball player instead of the former U.S. Marine, there's a problem there. And anyone who, like I said, isn't trapped and wrapped up in celebrity culture realizes that. So that's what we know right now surrounding this Brittney Griner, Victor Bout prisoner trade swap that we have going on. We'll have more on it in the days to come. Clearly, I will obviously continue to talk about it as more and more comes out. But that's why I came on today. I wanted to do a little bit of a shorter show today with that going on, and as well as just trying to get, everything going on the YouTube channel as well. So for those of you listening on Spotify, on Apple Podcasts, thank you guys so much. For those of you tuning into the YouTube show for the first time, thank you guys. Continue to run it up. We're going to be here every day, Monday through Friday. The schedule does not change. The only difference is now we are on YouTube as well. That being said, thank you for tuning into the show today. I will be back on tomorrow. We have plenty of other sports stories that I want to get to. With it being a Friday show, there's a lot going on, a lot we're going to get to. Clearly, it's going to be a longer show tomorrow, so be on the lookout for that. Shouldn't be up too late. I would hope not. I should be able to get that done tomorrow, early afternoon at the latest. So be on the lookout for that. That should be up. But in the meantime, y'all go share the show with friends and family. I don't care whether you hate it. I don't care whether you love it. I'm here regardless. Tell them to tune in. Maybe they'll love it. You might hate it. Maybe they love it. You may love it. They might hate it. But that's cool. That's what makes the world go round. That's why I'm here. I'm here to give analysis of sports, politics, culture, entertainment, everything out there. It's what I do. It's what we do here at the ARC Media Podcast. Thank you guys for tuning in. Thank you guys for the support. I love all of you so much. Like I said, I will be back on tomorrow. But in the meantime, enjoy your Thursday evening, night, whatever the case is. Enjoy your Friday until I'm on tomorrow as well. Time for me to go get a workout in. We're doing some legs today. I know, leg day, it sucks, but it's necessary. It's what we're doing. That's what I'm about to go do For y'all, I don't know what y'all are doing, but that's okay. I love you guys. Thank you guys so much for the support. I will see y'all tomorrow. And in the meantime, y'all stay safe out there. Love you guys.